Thank you for staying with us here on the WHHI-TV Daily News. With me now is Wendy Cummings. She is, of course, the nurse for the Cross Schools, and she's here for her monthly update. And we're going to talk about something today that I said before we started filming. I said, oh, I don't even know if I want to talk about it. But obviously it's important because it's happening in the community right now, and that is hand, foot, and mouth disease. So what is it? Who gets it? How can we take care of it if we do get it?
Okay, so thank you for having me. Hand, foot, and mouth, very, very common illness, usually children 5 and under, but anyone can get it, even adults. Adults are a little less susceptible. Typically, and when I say typically, it's because it doesn't always. What I've been seeing lately within my school community, a lot of the kids have not had fever. Some have, I'd say maybe half and half, but typically fever, and then a day or two later, spots on the hands, the feet, the mouth, especially in the oral cavity. Those can be, the sorest. Will start to appear. They get those rashes. The rashes are really the most painful part of hand, foot, and mouth, and the part that kids struggle with, because obviously they're on their feet, the soles of their feet, their hands. They're using their feet and their hands for everything. And then in the oral cavity is also an issue just from eating and drinking. So that becomes an issue. It is highly contagious. Typically, they are contagious even before the spots occur, especially if there's fever. But what the Department of Public Health, South Carolina Department of Public Health, says that as long as they're fever-free for 24 hours without fever-free reducing medication, there's no excessive drooling, and they are able to function, they're comfortable enough to participate and function, then they can be in school. Most of the time, if they have open lesions, because it is so highly contagious, we ask that those lesions either be covered or they be kept home until they are crusted over and dried, much like with any other, pox type virus or disease.
Yeah. And so what do we do to keep our kids comfortable if they do get it? Because I know you, especially with the mouth, because then it's going to be hard for them to eat, and obviously they need to be hydrated and nourished. So what do we do to keep them comfortable?
So always encourage you to talk to your private healthcare provider, your pediatrician. Sometimes they will prescribe, depending on how bad kids have it in their mouth, they might prescribe a rinse that they can put in and gargle with or swish around that will kind of numb it. I always tell my kids here at school when they come in and they still have some lesions, ice cold water, sipping on ice cold water, and protein shakes, smoothies, anything that they don't have to chew, that just goes in and goes down, but they're still able to get some nutrients in. Over-the-counter Tylenol and ibuprofen, as long as your child's not compromised in a way that they can't have that, those will also aid in keeping them comfortable.
Yeah. And is there a way to prevent it? I know you said even, if they're contagious even before they have a fever or spots, it's kind of hard to, separate that out.
Right.
But are we, obviously still washing hands and those kinds of things, but is there a way to prevent this?
Absolutely. Hand washing is going to be your number one. Keeping your hands away from your mouth. Very hard to do when you've got little toddlers and little bitties. Cleaning toys, obviously in the school system, you want to clean and disinfect the toys at the end of the day with an EPA registered disinfectant. But just teaching good hand washing, and even as adults, using gloves when changing, it can be transferred in feces. So you do want to make sure with diaper changes that you're keeping those hands nice and clean, and washing as often as possible.
And I would assume probably in schools we're encouraging maybe not sharing lunch or not sharing as many things, so we're not touching as many things with each other as possible.
Right. I always discourage eating and drinking after one another. And that is honestly more common in our middle school and high school students. They like to share. And so, there are other viruses and things that we want to keep that from happening as well that are very contagious. So always a good idea not to share those types of things.
Yeah. Well, Wendy, thank you for being here today and talking to us about this, even though sometimes it's uncomfortable. We need to have that information, so we appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thanks to everyone on the show today for their insights and contributions. As always, our production team is behind the scenes to make all of this possible. And of course, we are honored that you have chosen to share part of your day with us. I'm Betsy McDaniel, and we'll see you for the next WHHI-TV Daily News.